imagine reaching this peak of spiritual understanding, right? A real breakthrough moment,
Yeah.
only for it to be immediately followed by, well, sudden unexpected tragedy. What could possibly explain that?
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really challenges our ideas about cause and effect, maybe even spiritual protection,
Absolutely. So today, we're doing a deep dive into an ancient story, the Nandagopalakavatthu.
which means the story of Nanda the cowherd.
Exactly. And our source material, it's coming from ancient Buddhist texts, giving us this, unique window.
And our mission here really is to unpack this intriguing narrative. We'll look at Nanda's life, his, well, surprising spiritual journey,
Surprising is right.
and then this tragic incident that leads to, honestly, one of the most profound lessons on the power of the mind.
So how does this ancient tale speak to you, the listener? How does it connect to how you see causality, personal responsibility? Let's get into it. Okay, let's unpack this. We start in ancient Savatthi. We meet Nanda. He's a cowherd working for a pretty prominent householder, an Athapitika.
Right.
But like we hinted, the text doesn't just paint him as your average cowherd, does it?
Not at all. What's really striking is the sources describe him as wealthy, had much property, and much bounty.
Wealthy, a cowherd.
Yeah, it immediately sets him apart from, the typical image.
Okay, that is surprising. So how does the text explain this? His unique approach to his job? There seems to be more going on than just tending cattle.
Oh, definitely. The text tells us, and this is fascinating, that he guarded his family's wealth by being a cowherd,
Okay.
in the same way that Kenya, the ascetic, avoided royal oppression by being an ascetic. So he was strategically using this profession almost like a shield
A shield against what?
to protect his assets from potential state interference, taxes, maybe confiscation, who knows. It's a really unconventional form of self-preservation.
Wow, that's actually pretty clever. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How often do we maybe overlook these kinds of unconventional paths in our own lives or jobs? Paths that could offer unexpected advantages or, like Nanda, protection.
That's a great question. It really does highlight, finding resourceful solutions sometimes in plain sight.
So Nanda's shrewd, he's wealthy, but he also had this deep spiritual side, right? We learn he would, from time to time, bring the 5 cow products.
Which were valuable offerings back then: milk, ghee, butter, that sort of thing.
Right, precious offerings. He'd bring them to Anathapatika's residence. Why was he doing that?
Well, his purpose was very specific: to see the teacher and listen to the Dharma, to learn from the Buddha.
Ah, okay.
And his devotion, it was apparently so strong that he would also invite the teacher to his own dwelling.
Inviting the Buddha himself, that's a big deal.
A significant honor,
Yeah.
absolutely. Shows how earnest he was, how eager to learn directly.
So how did the teacher, the Buddha, respond to Nanda's, consistent devotion and these invitations? Did he just accept right away, or was there more to it?
Well, the teacher's response shows this incredible wisdom and patience, too. He actually waited for Nanda's knowledge to mature.
Waited. Okay.
Yeah. And then, one day, quite deliberately it seems, he visited Nanda's dwelling with a large assembly of bhikkhus, that's Buddhist monks, veering off the road and sitting under a tree nearby.
So not just a casual drop-in?
No.
Yeah.
It feels very premeditated, a compassionate visit, timed perfectly for when Nanda was ready.
And Nanda, well, being so devoted, he must have been overjoyed. How did he react?
True to form, he hosted the teacher and the entire assembly for 7 days.
7 days.
Yes, offering refined 5 cow products the whole time. I mean, that's a massive, sustained act of generosity. It really shows the depth of his commitment.
That's incredible dedication. 7 days of hosting the Buddha and his monks.
It really was. Not just a fleeting gesture, but a profound offering of his resources, his time, everything.
Okay, so 7th day. This must be the culmination of all Nanda's devotion. The teacher gave a gradual discourse, you said, tailored for him.
Exactly, including a discourse on giving, which was perfectly suited, given Nanda's generosity, and also fitting for his matured understanding.
And the result for Nanda, what happened?
The result was, well, immediate and profound. The text says, at the end of the discourse, Nanda the cowherd was established in the fruit of stream entry. Sotapadiphala.
Dream entry. That's huge in Buddhism, right? The first stage of enlightenment.
Absolutely, a major spiritual milestone. It means he's firmly on the path to liberation, guaranteed enlightenment eventually. A truly remarkable achievement.
Wow. An incredible spiritual breakthrough. So what happens next? Does this attainment, shield him somehow? Or does the story take that turn we talked about.
And this is where it gets really jarring, where that paradox hits hard. Nanda, still full of reverence, holding the teacher's bowl, followed him for a distance as he was leaving.
Okay, showing respect.
Yes. But the teacher, perhaps sensing something, told him, "Stop, lay follower." So Nanda bowed, turned back.
And then?
And then, just abruptly, out of nowhere, a hunter shot and killed him.
What? Just like that, after reaching stream entry.
Just like that. Gone.
That's the puzzle right there. He reaches this incredible spiritual height, and then, almost in the next breath, meets a violent end. What does that tell us about, well, life? Spiritual progress? Does it mean attainment offers no protection?
It absolutely challenges that comforting idea, doesn't it? That spiritual advancement creates some kind of, impenetrable shield. It forces us to confront the sheer unpredictability, the harsh realities of existence.
Understandably, the bhikkhus, the monks who were following behind, they must have been completely bewildered.
Oh, absolutely. They saw Nanda's body and reported to the teacher, essentially saying Nanda the cowherd was killed because the teacher had come.
They blamed the visit.
They even implied if the teacher hadn't come, his death would not have occurred. It sounds exactly like they were searching for an external cause, maybe even placing blame.
Well, it's a human reaction, I suppose, trying to make sense of tragedy.
It is. It's a common tendency, isn't it? When misfortune strikes, we often look outside ourselves to events, circumstances, other people to attribute blame. But the teacher's response, well, it completely reframed it, redirected their focus entirely.
How did the teacher address their confusion? What was his explanation for Nanda's sudden, shocking death?
He firmly corrected their misconception. He said, "Bhikkhus, whether I came or not,
Right.
even if he went in the 4 directions and 4 intermediate directions, there is no escape from death for him."
Meaning?
His point was crystal clear. Death, when its time is ripe, when the conditions align, is inevitable, regardless of external factors, even regardless of the presence of a Buddha.
Okay, so death itself was inevitable for Nanda at that point, but then comes the real core insight, doesn't it? The punchline of the whole story. What did the teacher reveal about the true source of harm?
Exactly. This is where he shifts everything. He moved the focus from external threats right to the internal landscape. He stated, "For that which neither thieves nor enemies do, that the mind, wrongly directed within these beings, itself does."
Whoa. The mind itself does what thieves and enemies do.
Or worse, actually. The implication is startling. The greatest damage we face, the most profound suffering, often originates from within, from our own minds.
That's a radical shift. Okay, so if the real threat isn't external, how does the text unpack what a wrongly directed mind actually does? How could it possibly be worse than, say, a violent thief or a hateful enemy?
Well, the teacher then delivered this powerful verse to hammer the point home. What a thief might do to a thief, or an enemy to an enemy, a wrongly directed mind can do to oneself even worse.
Even worse, that's chilling. What kind of harm are we talking about with the thief or enemy example? What's the baseline?
The text elaborates a bit. It explains that a malicious thief might, oppress children, wife, destroy fields, taking life due to harshness and cruelty, horrible things. Similarly, an enemy acts against another, causing suffering, loss. These are severe, tangible, external harms.
Okay, clear enough. So what makes the wrongly directed mind more devastating than that? What's the fundamental difference in the damage they inflict?
That's the key question, isn't it? The text explains the difference in impact. A thief or an enemy, their actions might cause suffering or loss of life in this very existence. Their impact is generally, though terribly, confined to this lifetime.
Okay. Limited to now.
But a mind wrongly set in the 10 unwholesome paths, we're talking actions driven by greed, hatred, delusion, that kind of mind leads to harm and destruction even in this very life.
Right, here and now.
And D, and this is the crucial part, by throwing one into the 4 lower realms for thousands of existences, does not allow one to lift their head.
Thousands of existences. Wow.
The internal state, this misdirected mind, it has these incredibly far-reaching multi-life consequences that external adversaries just can't inflict. The true, most dangerous enemy, the teaching argues, really does lie within.
That is profound. And the impact of this teaching on the monks who heard it?
Oh, it was undeniable. The text says, at the end of the discourse, many attained stream entry and other fruits, just like Nanda had.
So the tragedy became a powerful lesson.
Exactly. The sermon was beneficial for the great multitude. It clearly had a profound transformative effect on those present.
Now, you mentioned something interesting the text didn't discuss.
Yes, what's also fascinating is what the source explicitly states was not discussed. It says, the bhikkhus did not ask about the karma done by the lay follower in a previous existence, therefore the teacher did not tell.
Meaning they didn't ask why Nanda died violently in this life due to past actions.
Precisely. It highlights that while Nanda's death might well have been, karmically determined by past actions, the focus of this specific teaching wasn't that past cause. It was the universal, immediate principle of the mind's power, its potential for harm or good, right here, right now, and going forward.
Okay, so recapping. We've journeyed with Nanda, this shrewd yet deeply devotional cowherd. He reaches this amazing spiritual insight, stream entry,
A peak moment.
only to face immediate brutal tragedy. But this deep dive, it seems to reveal that his death wasn't some kind of failure of his spiritual attainment.
Not at all.
Instead, it became the catalyst for one of the most profound lessons on personal responsibility, on where true danger lies.
Absolutely. The ultimate takeaway, really, from the Nandagopalakavatthu is this. The greatest harm, or conversely, the greatest benefit, we experience often originates not from out there, not from enemies or circumstances.
But from in here.
Exactly, from the state of our own mind. A wrongly directed mind, the text claims, can inflict far more lasting deep suffering than any external force ever could.
So the final thought for you, the listener. What does it really mean to internalize that? To truly grasp that your inner state, your own mind, could have more far-reaching consequences than any external adversary?
And maybe, how might you begin to consciously cultivate a rightly directed mind in your own life, recognizing just how immense its power is?
Yeah. Maybe consider, just for a moment, how much energy you spend guarding against external threats versus, say, cultivating your internal landscape. Something to think about.